This is SportsRage. I am Morency. 62-57 right now for the Denver Nuggets. Over the Golden State Warriors. There's exactly 2 minutes left in the first half. I grabbed an in-game over 244.5 here. And we're on the Golden State Warriors plus the points. I don't know how the hell that wasn't a foul. They just pushed Curry over, and clearly was a foul, but they didn't call it. But Jamal Murray's going to the line right now. Do you have any action on this basketball game, Cam, or any college basketball?
No, I didn't touch the basketball tonight. I just stayed on the hockey, and I had so much going on with the golf today, Morency, and it was in Hawaii, and it ended like right before the show, like 9:45, 10 o'clock. They're so far behind, so it went pretty well. So, no, I don't have anything to go in hoops tonight, just ice and links.
All right, you know what? We've got Griffin Murphy going to be stepping up and in a couple of minutes. So 63-57. I wanted to get to Victor Wembanyama and Giannis tonight. I took the Wembanyama props to the over tonight, and somebody, I don't know, his name was Neil on Twitter, rightfully brought it up. He goes, I'm kind of worried about your Wembanyama props because he doesn't play that much. And it's very interesting to see Wembanyama. He played 26 minutes tonight. They have a cap on him at 24 minutes, which is kind of frustrating because they get in these games and he's doing special things, and you want to see him. But Popovich is sticking to this, and it's tricky for props, but this is unbelievable. So tonight, Giannis just went off, but there was, Twitter's blowing up, NBA Twitter's blowing up and stuff. A battle, it was like, like one of those Japanese movies, man, like Godzilla versus a T-Rex and King Kong and stuff. Giannis went up like to slam. Giannis like just viciously laid down a slam dunk late in the game. And it was a tie game. It was like this massive dunk. And he tried it again. And Victor Wembanyama stuffed him. And Wembanyama was like blocking shots left and right late in the game. And he's hitting threes and stuff. It was freaking epic. It was like, wow. Can you imagine if this guy was on a good team? And this is the thing with Wembanyama. He's surrounded by just terribleness. Like they're so bad, the Spurs.
Yeah.
Like everybody on the team is bad. They don't pass him the ball enough. He doesn't get enough shots for like a superstar player. Like put it this way, guys. Vassell took 21 shots tonight. Shout out everyone joining us on Sirius XM channel 159. I am Gabriel Morency. It's hard to call out Greg Popovich. The guy has done everything there can possibly do in the sport of basketball. He's a legend, and he's cultivated and developed Hall of Fame players. So clearly he knows a hell of a lot more than I do. But at the same point in time, the Spurs, like you watch Wembanyama play and you're like, wow, he could do so much more if you would let him, but they don't. But then I remember they're trying to tank again. So I think if you're Greg Popovich, you actually have done, they've done this. The Detroit Lions were good at this for a couple of years. The Lions would play really close games. They'd be tough, and then they would always lose at the end. And I caught on. I was like, they're doing this on purpose. Like Campbell, like they're actually doing this on purpose. Because this way you get your work in. It's like, listen, we're getting better. We just showed we could compete. We're doing this, but we actually don't really want to win anyways. We're trying to get more picks here. So it's the best of both worlds. And I think that's the way Popovich is looking at it. But to put in context, guys, Victor Wembanyama tonight, 27 points in 26 minutes. All right. Amazing. And Giannis played 39 minutes and had 44 points. Like, so I'm just saying, in a couple of years, guys, Wembanyama is going to be like, he's going to be like Giannis in these dudes, except even more freakish, dropping like, 35 and 18 rebounds and the blocks and stuff. Just unbelievable. So much fun to watch this kid play basketball. It's too bad he plays on such a bad team, and he only plays 24 minutes a night. But when he's on the court, he does a hell of a lot of damage, this kid. And clutch Cam. He hit threes like they were down. He's not even a very good three-point shooter, Wembanyama. But when the game was on the line, he was like, give me the ball. And boom, he hit a three. Then he hit another three. He got a block. He hit a three. And then when the game was on the line, he could have taken the three, but he did the good teammate thing, and he passed it to an open dude in the corner who bricked the shot.
Yeah, exactly. Who absolutely screwed it up. That's the whole thing. And Gabe, you talked about
Michael
this coming
Jordan's
from France.
thinking, Probably going to call him, don't pass, kid. Just take the shot.
Yeah.
Like,
kid,
you're the guy.
You're the guy.
Like, just
hit it.
Like,
hit
that's,
it. Yeah.
that's like the LeBron stuff. Well, he was open.
Yes.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
You're Victor Wembanyama. He's not. You take the shot.
Stiff number 1, 2, 3, 4. I shoot. You don't. You watch. Yeah, no, the thing is, too, coming from France to the NBA and being on a bad team like this. So think about this, Morency. If you really break it down minute by minute, what you were talking about, it's phenomenal. And he's only going to get better and better. And then when San Antonio gets another pick, it won't be stiff city. You're going to actually have somebody to work with him. And then we're going to have this thing. The question is, are they going to be like the Tim Duncan Robinson days again? Are the Spurs going to be that team where they go on this epic run? Like it's tougher nowadays to get that legacy kind of team like that. But if you give him somebody high, the answer is yes, probably, because he's just such a freak. That's the bottom line.
I think you're right. I was thinking about that too when I was watching the game. It's next to impossible to build a winner in the NBA. Like when you're starting from scratch, no one ever does.
Nope.
Like any team that's won hasn't really done it from scratch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you look at the Toronto Raptors one. It took them freaking 25 years. Like, they built this thing up for 25 years. We're always falling short, and finally, but it took 25 years. Like, from an expansion franchise, it literally took them 24 years to win a championship. Like, the Spurs are so far away that even if you got another number 1 or number 2 pick, they would still suck. And then, you know, after a couple of years, the players on the team get tired of it. Then Wembanyama says, you know what? I don't even want to do this anymore here. I'm going to go play on a real team because this sucks. So it's hard to get there. But my point is, for you prop players out there, I've been telling you guys about his rebound props a lot. Wembanyama's rebound prop. Because the kid's 7'5", 7'4", 7'5". He's going to get rebounds. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? Even if he doesn't try, he's going to get rebounds. But he's really, like, not been a great rebounder. He's gotten 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, like 8.
Shocking.
You know what I mean? He's gone up and down. There's been, like, a little run where he had, like, 17, 18 and stuff. But I'm telling you, everybody, start to look at him for his point props. If you'll notice right now, Wembanyama, he's scoring more. He's getting more aggressive with the shots. He scored 27 tonight, 20 against Memphis, 21 against Boston, 30 against Portland. So those are his last 4 games. His prop tonight was 18.5 points coming into tonight. So we see he easily went over this number again tonight. Keep your eye on that. And look at his rebounds, too. His rebounds, 5 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 7 rebounds. Tonight he stepped up with 9. I bet over 8.5, and it was a bold-ass pick to do it, considering. But keep your eye on Wembanyama, guys. Player prop to the over. As the year goes on, he's just going to start scoring more and more, averaging 18.9. And, you know, for people who want to call him out, too, he's not doing this. The kid's averaging 18.9, 10.2, and he's killing it with blocks. The kid's a stud.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
56% is really good. Anything close to 60 is retirement level stuff. So there's way more people on the lower side of that. You have to learn how to manage that. This is a game of give and take. I mean, or come in quick and hit them and get out.
The Bostonian versus the book.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
The irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU. because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Well, they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting drops in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
The NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff.
In-game live prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Man, I can't wait to play this football game and see what happens. Michigan and Washington, let's do this thing. This is SportsRage. I am Morency. I don't understand the constant disbelief in Michigan and their defense, and I find it comical. And we talked about it. People keep talking about, wow, Michael Penix gets rid of the ball just so fast. How is Michigan going to deal with this? So one of the reasons why he didn't get sacked is because he does get rid of the ball so fast. But he gets rid of the ball fast. You know what? I've been really crunching the numbers for this stuff, and Michigan got Jalen Milroe. They got to Jalen Milroe so fast on an average of 2.57 seconds. All right, which is just like wow, like how they literally from the line of scrimmage they snapped the ball, boom. Less than 3 seconds later, the Michigan Wolverines were sacking Jalen Milroe, which is just like unheard of. Penix gets rid of the ball like in 2.4 seconds. He's like the quickest release, like boom, right away. But you don't think that the defensive coordinator of Michigan Wolverines, Jesse Minter, is going to come up and they're going to, So the real key is, if you really want to break down the game, and let's bring in Griffin Murphy, is going to be the Michigan Wolverine cornerbacks and defensive backs versus the Washington Husky wide receivers, because they're going to try to jam them up on the line. They know they want to get rid of the ball quickly. Don't let them do it. And another key stat here, guys, Michael Penix only completes 41% of his passes when he's outside of the pocket. All right? It's a lot of 3-step drop back. Tuck, boom, tuck, boom. Michigan get him moving around a bit. It's going to cause problems for him. Griffin, always a pleasure. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, man. I appreciate you guys having me on by all means. But yeah, man, rolling into this, I got to say, starting off with the defensive coordinator with Michigan, that's Jesse Minter. I mean, he is going to be the major key guy in this matchup, not even on the field. By the way that he coaches this game. If you didn't see what they did to Bama, well, what he did was he exposed their only weakness, and that was the trembling side on the offensive line. What did they do? They brought pressure in and out every single play. I believe that they got to Milroe 6 times. I want to say he was sacked 6 times. That hasn't happened all season long, let alone Alabama this season has not been held to under 300 total offensive yards in a game all season long until they just dealt with Michigan. So you look at this game and you go to Michael Penix with this Washington offense. I mean, you've got weapon after weapon. You've got Jalen McMillan. You've got Polk. You've got Romo Dunze. And then you've got Penix, who's already passed for over 4,600 yards this season, 38 touchdowns. I want to say only 9 picks. You've got the number 1 passing team in the country going against the number 2 pass defense in the country. So how do you look at these two divergent teams? The biggest test that everybody keeps bringing up is, well, is Washington going to be able to hold up Michigan's defensive line? Well, when I look at this game, Gabe, this game could go a lot of ways. Michigan is either going to completely torment this team, or we are going to see Michael Penix perform the way that Michael Penix performed against Texas. And if he can do that, he is the only college player right now in college playoffs who I was able to watch perform with absolutely no nerves. This guy came out, he was absolutely gunslinging. You watch J.J. McCarthy. He had a couple slip-up passes where you could tell there was nerves inside, and I love it. You know, he's a cocky kid. He comes in, this is my swagger, this is my game, and I love that about him. But he did have a couple screw-ups in the game. Penix, on the other hand, he was laser lights out the entire game. So really breaking this game down, there's a lot of ways to really look at it. You can look at a total in this game, but I told you the last time you had me on the show, when it comes to games like this, I'm not looking at totals. I'm looking for that grand finale, that caviar. And I've got to tell you, man, everybody's going to disagree with me in this game. I think Michael Penix comes in and wears it. I think he wears it like a stud. I think he's confident enough. I think he's cocky enough. I like the fact that they're getting the 4.5 points in this game. And I'm really excited to see how this offensive line with Washington defends this defensive attack with Michigan in this matchup.
One thing about Penix, and great breakdown, but one thing about Penix that you can argue, for or against, not with Penix, but as far as Washington is concerned. And I went over a lot of their games earlier, Griff, sure, as far as, the Arizona, the Stanford games and the Washington State games and these games and stuff. They didn't blow teams out like mediocre teams. 24-21 against Washington State, 22-20 against the Ducks. I mean, hell, 15-7 against Arizona State, right? So I could go on. But under pressure, Penix was unbelievable, right? And there were times this year where it was like, dude, it's 4th and 7, and we're in a lot of trouble. Like, there's only 3 minutes left. Like, and it came up with the play all the time. He does have ice in his veins. And one thing about Michigan, we didn't know. We never saw it. Bro, they never trailed all year. Like, Michigan were never, ever trailing this. Like, they trailed 3-0 early in the game to whoever, whatever.
3 points.
They were never in a moment where it's like, man, if we don't score, we lose. They didn't have that. JJ showed it, bro. They went down the field. All right, they showed it and they ended up winning. Fascinating matchup. It really is. You got the offense versus the defense, but I keep going back to it, Cam, the same thing. And we didn't get to this yet, Griffin. Michigan's offense against Washington's defense. Let's talk about that aspect.
Exactly.
And I don't think they're going to be able to stop them. I think Michigan are going to score on them. So I think what you said, Griffin's right. Either Michigan are going to blow them out, or it's going to turn into a close track meet, and it's going to come down to just a classic game. I think that's the two angles that this game goes.
Texas ran all over Washington in that game. Like, they were running at a nice clip. They had a couple stupid fumbles in that game. Here's the thing. We know how Washington's going to succeed, Gabe. This is the thing that people don't talk about. Johnson's hurt for Washington. They might not have a running game. They already know that Washington needs to throw. You don't think the defensive coordinator is going to come up with schemes to say they can't run the ball? And that makes it one-dimensional. The scariest time Michigan had was when Maryland had a defensive touchdown in the game, and they laughed it off and went ding, 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 ding. They scored 21 quick ones after that. I'm telling you, Gabe, I broke it down. I was thinking Washington earlier. The more I think about it, if Washington doesn't have a run game to separate themselves from great corners that Michigan has, that's another thing. Me and Gabe are talking. Who in the Pac-12 is a defense like Michigan? Nobody. Nobody even.
And you can't even bring Oregon in that conversation.
Not the Wildcats. This is like a different level. This is the whole thing. The points seem very attractive with Washington, but I look at Michigan on all sides of the ball. They check all the boxes. With Washington without a run game, it's set what are they going to do with their passing game? Michigan's going to have schemes that I think that they can stop them and limit them. Not the whole game, but from, touchdown. They'll set them up to situations, a lot of punting and stuff, Gabe. I'm with you, Morency. I like the Wolverines. I just think they're a more complete team.
And I completely hear you, Cam, and I couldn't agree with you more with everything you said. If it was to go down to a dynamic player versus player situation where we were to go down each lineup, each positional player. Yep. Michigan wins 90% of the entire thing, if not 95% when you go down the boards. The thing with this Washington team is they have managed to prevail themselves in every single situation, whether it was against the Oregon, the Utah, whoever they were playing, USC, every single game they have played thus far. And let me talk, I'm talking Pac-12 here, football. Pac-12 is a real good conference. They're very underrated. They played very good football this season. And that's kind of something that I'm really interested in. But my biggest go-to is, yes, I agree with you on that aspect for one specific reason, and that is Michigan is not afraid to bring the pain. They are not afraid to set 8 men down on that defensive front and jam it play after play after play. They are not afraid to play 5-man down zone coverage, splitting their defensive backs to absolutely bring the house. And I think that's going to be the only way to stop this team, especially that offense. And then you go to this Washington defense and you look at it. Well, you guys are right. How are they going to slow down a Michigan offense who has continuously
Listen, Griffin, we're coming up against the break here. We'll hit this on the other side, but the Washington Huskies gave up over 400 yards a game. All right? It's ranked like 97th in the country. It's going to be a problem. Michigan are going to rack up yards. I think Washington are going to need to score when they get the ball. Like they can't waste their possessions.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the book.
56% is really good. Anything close to 60 is retirement level stuff. So there's way more people on the lower side of that. You have to learn how to manage that. This is a game of give and take. I mean, or come in quick and hit them and get out.
The Bostonian versus the book.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Well, they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
The NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give you over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Florida Panthers up 2-1 on the Las Vegas Golden Knights right now. We're on the Panthers in the Stanley Cup rematch. We've got a low-scoring game going on in the Pacific Northwest with the Seattle Kraken and the Ottawa Senators. Kraken up 1-0. They are in the second period of play. 5 minutes remaining in the second period of play. 1-0. The in-game total is 3.5 right now. Now we're kicking with Griffin Murphy from Doc Sports. G Murphy wins on Twitter. And he's got his Blackhawk jersey back there. And I just wanted, just for the record, Griffin, my boy J.J. McCarthy's actually from the Chicago area. Played at Nazareth, right? He played at Nazareth. He's not the only one actually on Michigan. So a little bit of an Illinois flavor here for the Michigan Wolverines. And in fact, he played in 3 state championships, and he won in his senior year. So I think J.J. McCarthy, the story is going to be him going in, like the kid's a winner, right? He's just flat out a winner, this kid. So
26-1.
Won a state championship in Illinois, win a national championship, and then you go to the NFL and you have one more to do. A couple others did it, right? Like Cam Newton did it. Cam Newton won a state championship, a junior JUCO championship, and the NCAA championship, and then made it to the freaking Super Bowl, but we all know what happened in that game. But, all right, so I want to get to some NFL, but in closing, Griffin, any other thoughts as far as this football game is concerned? You're taking the Washington Huskies plus the points.
I'm taking the Washington with the points. I'm taking Washington. I'm riding it. I think it's either going to be a very close, it's either going to be a complete blowout type of game where Michigan absolutely rolls them, or Washington comes out and that's going to be backed up by Michael Penix. Michael Penix has got to be perfect in this game, and I expect him to be so. I'm riding Washington in this one.
Man, Michael Penix has just ridden the wave, the purple wave with the chip on his shoulder, the disrespect, right? It's always Bo Nix and then him. Now J.J. McCarthy and then him, right? It's always Washington are getting tired of always being the underdog. But, man, whatever, dude. Michigan are 26-1 their last 27 games, and they just beat Alabama. So you got to understand why people made Michigan the favorite in this game. But let's get to the NFL. Cam thinks the Chicago Bears are going to beat the Green Bay Packers this week. Big game. A lot on the line here. Packers win. They're in the postseason. Justin Fields has played great football over the last month. The Bears have played great football over the last 6 weeks. 5-1 last 6? What's your pick on that one, Griffin? What do you think?
So here's the thing going into this one, Gabe, is I am with the Bears on this game, in this matchup, just because of the way that their defense has been performing in the past 6 weeks. They are one of the best defenses in all football, and it's a shame that they're actually not even playing for a playoff spot, considering the fact dating back 3 weeks ago, if they beat Cleveland in that matchup where they were leading 17-7 in that fourth quarter, they're playing to go into the playoffs right now. And then you bounce back over right now to Jordan Love, and I want to get into this sequence. Jordan Love right now has passed for 30 touchdowns this season, and he has showing out, playing better football than anybody would have expected going into this year. And something that I really wanted to eye out, and you could kind of look at it like this system. He's kind of trailing right now, so you have the Brett Favre circumstance. Then who followed him? That was Aaron Rodgers. Then who's following Aaron Rodgers? That's Jordan Love. So you're kind of getting that whole kind of mixture, and I love the way that tails itself because you kind of have the same circumstance with the Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo. So I love how this Jordan Love situation is forming itself, but you're asking a kid now to play a must-win game. It's his first season as an actual starting quarterback. They're going into this game playing their absolute arch rivals who want nothing more than to beat the crap out of them in this game, considering the fact that they've had them hammered all 10 years for decades. So going into this game, I love the way Justin Fields has been playing football. I think DJ Moore has proved legitimacy. This offense is really starting to finally move. And on the defensive side, as I've mentioned already, they're playing better football than just about anybody.
How about Justin Fields when asked about playing at Lambeau? He said their fans are going to be loud because there's not much to do in Green Bay except watch football.
He's not kidding.
I like it. A little bit of a, you know what I mean? Like if you're a Bear fan, I would like that. Like, because you know what? Remember Aaron Rodgers, I'm your daddy. Jordan Love has talked smack too, and he beat the Bears earlier. This would be big. As you just stated, Griffin, it's so big too. Jordan Love becomes sort of a cult hero, like he welcomed in. Statistically, he's killed it, whatever. He gets him into the playoffs, bro, in his first year as a starter. With all the adversity and the injured wide receivers and all this, like, he's in. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, the transition's real. You're the new quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, kid. It's real, bro. You're a star now, right? Moving forward. And he's going to get paid, too. He's going to, his contract's going to, he's going to get paid. And then you got Justin Fields that can put an exclamation point on, you ain't drafting Caleb Williams. I'm the quarterback, and I just beat the arch rival Green Bay Packers that we all hate to death and kept them out of the playoffs. A lot on the line here in this game. Cam, you got a game you want to ask Griffin about?
Yeah, I do. Griffin, here's another one. I know there's a lot of tricky games. Gabriel, you on Tennessee with me? I think we're going to take the points against Jacksonville in that game. But I got to ask you, Griff, what do you think about this one? Frankie Falcon and Sammy Saint there. I know the Saints, they beat the Bucs last week, and now is it a role reversal? What do you think about this game? I find it very intriguing. I'm kind of leaning with the Falcons, like the, back and forth theory. You know what I mean? The Saints will let you down. They were good last week, but they always play the Bucs pretty tough. What do you think?
Well, here's my thing, Cam, is I love the fact that they are playing in the Dome in this game. The problem is when you're put in a situation, again, where it's a must-win matchup, I can't back Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is just a brutal quarterback. I do not think he should be a starting NFL quarterback anymore, and that is the biggest thing. And you go back, you've seen what Heineke has done in past games. Heineke he's come off the bench, and he's performed, and I believe he performed really well last week, if I'm not mistaken. Atlanta does have a very strong defensive line. Not crazy strong, but strong enough. There's not enough right now momentum based with this New Orleans team for me, especially with Derek Carr. And even if they are to circumvent and get inside of this game and win, they're going to get eliminated immediately going farther. But looking at this game right now, I like Atlanta in this one.
What else do you like this week? We've got a couple of minutes left. Cam brought up the Jags. The Jags, this spread's down to 3.5 right now. It was like higher earlier in the week. People are starting to buy in that the Titans are going to play spoiler here. I think we're going to see this. I can tell you guys, teams that need to win to get into the playoffs in the last 2 weeks of the regular season are 70 and 102 against the spread. Really? So basically what I'm saying is in the last 2 weeks of the season, if you take teams that are playing for nothing against teams that are playing to get into the playoffs, you cover 70% of the time. All the pressure is on the team to get into the playoffs. And these other teams are playing, they have nothing to lose. You have a unique situation, Griffin, because you got the Baltimore Ravens with the 1 seed already. Yeah, this is a football team, bro, that's won 24 straight preseason games before. Like, they're good at games like this. Their backups are good. Everybody tries. Like, Harbaugh, the Harbaughs, they care about a ping pong match against a 5-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? It's smash the ball, like, boom.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. They're Mendelbaums, these guys. Like, so we know the Ravens are there. I don't think the Panthers have it in them to beat the Bucs. I think Baker Mayfield gets that done. I like the under in that game because I don't think anyone's going to score.
The only concern in that game would be Baker Mayfield's ribs, by all means. But again, I want to go back to what Baker has done this season, and I love that. Baker is the prime example of where I was going with my recent breakdown with Green Bay, how they had Favre to Rodgers to now Jordan Love. Well, you kind of threw Baker Mayfield in the mix, and he just came in here, and he had to create his own leadership. He had to do it on his own. He's led this team to a winning season and a potential playoff spot right now. All he's got to do is come out victorious in this matchup. I love the Bucs in this game, and I don't think Carolina has anything going for them in this matchup. I'm not Bryce Young. I'm not sold with him by any means. I'm not sold on their defense. They don't have any weapons on the offensive side. I think this game is a laydown. Laying the 4.5 points, it's a weird line because it can kind of coincide with the teaser bet. So that's why I know it's kind of matched out at that 4.5. But I like the Bucs in this game, and I would still lay the 4.5 points with them. I like Baker going in this game.
I love what Baker's done as well. Talking about a player with a chip on his shoulder. And, from what he's accomplished in his career is a lot. And I like his attitude in that he's not just happy. Like, they're almost like, wow, what a story, that you're playing for this. He's like, yeah. And Like, yeah. And like, yeah, we
exactly.
expected to like play for the division. And like, I think people forget, like the kid played in a national championship game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's played in big football games. He's won big football games. He took the Browns to the playoffs and won a game and nearly beat the Chiefs. So like this, you know, the revisionist history with Baker, I always say you're never as good as people say you are, and you're never as bad as people say you are. That was the thing I think with Baker Mayfield. My Bills are now laying 2.5 against the Dolphins. I do think the Bills are going to get it done there, but I want to throw this out there, guys. We brought this up briefly earlier. It was brought up. The Rams and Niners are playing. The total is 41. Dude, McVay never shows anything in preseason games. The Niners are locked in. The Rams are in the playoffs. This game's going under, guys. Griff, what do you think of that take?
Couldn't agree more, Gabe.
There's no reason for them to show out. McVay does it every year. First of all, he should get a Coach of the Year award. He has done a phenomenal job. This guy was handed a bunch of rookies, and he literally turned a lay-down team that was supposed to be nothing into now a playoff team and one of the most versatile
A dangerous playoff team, guys.
Very
a dangerous, scary team.
Agreed.
Cooper with stuff.
Hey, great stuff, Griffin.
Thanks, Griffin.
Red Beard. Coming up next.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't
favorite.
care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
56% is really good. Anything close to 60 is retirement level stuff. So there's way more people on the lower side of that. You have to learn how to manage that. This is a game of give and take. I mean, or come in quick and hit them and get out.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and you know, a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Well, they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In the NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. You know, that's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Thursday Night Throwdown continues. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency on the SportsGrid radio and television network. Shout out to all our television affiliates and, of course, Sirius XM Channel 159. Speaking of television affiliates, let's bring in First Coast News college football analyst, a Heisman Trophy voter, and a man that is every bit as amazed at the craziness of college football's playoffs as we are. Mr. Brent Beard joins us. Happy New Year, Brent. It's always a pleasure, my man. How you doing?
Stuff. You got Junkins leaving Ole Miss, which shocked everybody, and I'm guessing he's probably looking for a better deal, and I'm not sure where that's going to go. But he's quite a running back, so I mean he's just an example right now of what you and I are doing every day, right? Pretty much all day long.
A coach is, it was already difficult being a college football coach, and I'm not getting out a violin for them, but now to keep up with your players leaving and players transferring, it's not just recruiting anymore, but and it's even with the coaches themselves. Look at Coach Harbaugh. He's getting ready to coach in a national championship game, and the media are asking him about potentially leaving for the National Football League.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And what he's also doing from behind the scenes, Gabe, is he's still trying to keep his roster together. I'm sure he's dealing with kids as far as the portal is concerned, at least a little bit. There'll be a whole lot more on Tuesday morning, won't it, Gabe? But look, and again, I don't know if they're going to do anything about it. I hope they do, but this December calendar has cost them a lot of trouble.
Brent Beard with us. So, Brent, I want to get your thoughts on how you think Washington and Michigan are going to play out, but what's your post-analysis of the Alabama-Michigan game? I saw Coach Saban on the Pat McAfee show earlier this morning, and I always enjoy Saban's brutal honesty about everything. Yeah. And, he was he was disappointed, but, it was a close game. It came down to a play. I personally think, Brent, that the center is being thrown under the bus far too much. Was it a perfect snap? No. I thought that, I don't think running the QB sneak was the way to go. I understand he was supposed to cut left and all this type of stuff. But it was, it is what it is. And now, speaking of the transfer portal, the center of Alabama says, you know what? I don't need this. And I think he's pretty smart. He doesn't want to go back and deal with being like the villain next year. So he's going to go somewhere else. And I guess like a lot of big-time schools want him too.
Oh, yeah. Ohio State, for one, there's some interest there. There's also some interest with some SEC teams. Seth McLaughlin actually has not one but 2 degrees from the University of Alabama. And look, Gabe, some of this is on the coaching staff. They've had trouble with snapping the ball to the quarterback the whole year. And at some point with an 85-man roster, you need to be able to have multiple centers. I know this on a glamorous position, but when it's not working, it's not working. But look, it was a tremendous game. The physicality, Gabe, on the field between those two teams was just amazing. I mean,
it was like a heavyweight fight. It really was. Like, Brett, like we could hear in the stands the crashing of the helmets and the pads. Like there's 93,000 people. You could still hear it. And you could just feel the tension. There was a respect between the two teams on the field, but they were throwing haymakers at each other.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that. I mean, and again, I mean, I give Michigan credit. They got out to the lead. Alabama came back. There were ebbs and flows as the game went on. Frankly, Alabama deep into the fourth quarter was really within inches of winning the game. They stymied the Michigan offense, but Michigan in the last 2 times they had the ball, they go 75 yards, they go 25 yards, they score twice. You told me J.J. McCarthy is a better quarterback than he's given credit for. Blake Corum is really tremendous too. But I will tell you this, Gabe, and I know you've thought about this a lot, I'm sure. They have got to get that special team situation at Michigan cleaned up before Monday night, don't they?
That was an absolute disaster. But what I don't understand about that was they're so efficient on special teams.
Yeah.
They don't make mistakes. Like, they're so good. Jake Moody got drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft, Brent. Like, their kicker from their last kicker. This kicker, Jalen Turner, the kid, stud kicker, transferred from Indiana. And, dude, like, he was kicking 56-yarders in the snow this year, Brent. And the special teams disaster. Like, can you believe the fumbled punt at the end of the game? That's what we had. That was right in front of me, Brent. Like, I nearly had a heart attack. like I saw the ball. Yeah. I was like it was one of those like life flash in front of your eyes type of deals. They've got to tighten up too. You know, Brent, there's been a theme here with Michigan in these playoff games where they're sloppy early. It happened against Georgia. It happened against TCU, and it happened against Alabama as well. They were down 7-0. McCarthy threw an interception, but the player was out of bounds. They caught a break, and then they gave it right back to him on the fumble punt after. They can't, like, you don't want to spot this Washington Husky team elite because they do have an efficient offense. How do you think this plays out? Who do you like in a national championship game?
Listen, I'm still trying to decide that at this point. But I tell you, to me, the crux of the game is Washington's offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award against the Michigan defensive line. See, Bama had trouble blocking. Now, they did better when they ran the ball, and they quit running the ball with Justice Haynes, number 22. He was very impressive in the game. But to me, Gabe, I mean, does that make sense? And I think that's what he's coming down to. I mean, if they can block Michigan's defensive line and give Penix some time to throw, that's going to make a difference. But if they do what they did to Jalen Milroe, you remember, Gabe, on the first possession for Alabama, they sacked him twice. I mean, they landed 2 haymakers early. I think that first quarter is crucial in that battle against the Washington offensive line and the Michigan defensive line.
Michigan have 16 sacks in their last 4 games. Washington have given up 11 sacks all year long.
Yeah.
As you stated, Joe Moore Award, not to take anything away from the players in the Pac-12, but it's not known for having the best defensive lines.
No.
Right?
No, they're not.
And I think, and on the flip side, though, Brent, Washington's defense is built to stop the pass. They have very good defensive backs. And we saw Texas have a lot of success on the ground.
Yeah.
An interesting thing I saw, too, Brent, is Michael Penix, he only completes 41% of his passes if you can get him out of the pocket.
Right.
That's a big drop-off, right?
I
think Michigan, they don't really have to just, like, they're not, I don't think they're going to sack him 6 times.
No,
right? You and I talked about Alabama's offensive line problems all year long, even though they did tighten it up over the last month. Let's be real. They're only giving up 4 sacks or something, right?
Yes.
I think, though, you know what? Like, if they could just sort of get Penix on the run. Penix is a quick drop-back, 3-step boom guy. Get him on the run a bit. Just make him move. I think mistakes can start to happen, Brent. And that's going to be the key. And I tell you what, man, Minter has done an amazing. You saw the game. They
really
confused. That defense. It wasn't just the line, Brent. They really confused Alabama in what Michigan's defense was doing on each play. They kept changing the scheme on them.
And listen, I'm glad you mentioned that, Gabe. I'm curious. Are they going to be able to keep Mentor? I mean, there are a lot of schools coming after him, right? So
there's so much in the air. What happens if Harbaugh leaves? It looks like they'll go with Moore, who they already went with, right, to be the head coach.
Right. Yes.
It's a good point. Like Minter, it's another good point. Sort of like, look what Dan Lanning did with Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And now he got the job with Oregon. Minter is a young guy, too, that you could see as a head coach.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But look, what he has done with that defense has been incredible. So that's going to be one of those off-season stories that I think we're all going to be able to follow. Gabe, I'm curious with this. In Houston, as far as the crowd is concerned, and you were right in the middle of all that last week, I wonder who's going to have the advantage from the noise and from the opposing fan bases. I would think, maybe I'm wrong, but I would think Michigan was going to travel better to that game than Washington, frankly. So, I mean, look, that's a storyline to follow later. But I'm curious in that den of noise, who's going to win out on that one?
And I know on TV there were a lot of Alabama fans there. I'm not going to dispute it, but it was like 70-30 type thing, Brent.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Like the Alabama fans were in the Alabama section.
Right.
Like if you notice, the rest of the stadium was blue. Like the tailgate was blue. Like it felt like even Bama fans were saying, kind of feels like a home game for Michigan.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
in the tailgate before, it was like 70-30. I don't know, 65. I would expect it to. Look, they're both pretty rich fan bases, but these tickets are really expensive, Brent.
Well, they are.
It's like $1,200 to get in the building. That's the cheapest ticket to get in the stadium.
Now, Gabe, think about this, and we'll get into this in the off season. But there was about a month, right, between the championship game and the semis. Now, we're not going to have that next year. The semis, or the first round is actually going to be on December the 20th. So you think about that, about what are these teams going to be better off by playing sooner after the conference championship game, basically 20 days that they'll play instead of 30 days. Think about that a little bit, Gabe. That's something we can talk about during the off season. I think that's going to be fascinating, frankly.
I've always thought it was ridiculous how long off it was in between your last game and with the biggest game of the year. You're off for sometimes 29 days, 30 days, 27 days, 20. It's too long. It's too long. But as you stated, we have a new system coming up next year. All right, Brent, we've only got about a minute and a half left here, so I'm going to have to put you on the hot seat. You're like a late voter. A Heisman Trophy, you waited to the last second. So a national championship, but we're not going to speak before. What's your gut tell you? Who's going to lift the trophy?
Look, what I saw from Penix the other night, if he as good as Michigan is, I think it's going to be close again. But I like Washington in the game with those receivers. And I mean, it was just amazing, Gabe. I mean, he is able to put the ball, and all the receivers got to do is put his hand out, and there's the ball. I haven't seen anybody that accurate. Now, look, your point's a good one. Michigan's going to have to make him uncomfortable. They made Jalen Milroe uncomfortable, I thought, for most of the game, and beyond the blocking situation that we mentioned. Can they make Penix uncomfortable? I'm going with Washington right now with about a field goal, but would it surprise me at all if in the second half Michigan takes over and they run the ball and run the clock out? But I.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
favorite. I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
56% is really good. Anything close to 60 is retirement level stuff. So there's way more people on the lower side of that. You have to learn how to manage that. This is a game of give and take. I mean, or come in quick and hit them and get out.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU. because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Well, they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer
The
powered by
top goal-scoring
Marca.
teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all
You see it in the
access.
NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live overtime.
You want to give you over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Awesome stuff with Brent Beard. Always love talking college football with Brent, and put another one on the board. Another one that likes the Washington Huskies. And Brent wasn't talking about the point spread. He was talking about who's going to win the football game. I put a poll question up that I haven't checked in on in a day or so, actually. And in fact, let me check in on this right now. And it was overwhelming. But I got to be honest with you, and I've said this for years, the Rageaholics are never right. Like, whenever there's like a massive majority on one side, they're always wrong. And what do we got here? So we're up to 905 votes. So this is not bad. Let me retweet it again. It gets lost in the shuffle. Let me retweet this right now, and let's get this thing going here. Get it into a couple of thousand over the next couple of days. But I said, who are you taking as far as the point spread is concerned? Michigan minus 4.5, Washington plus 4.5, 61.9% on Washington. 61.9% on Washington. And thinking of the guests that we've had off the top of my head so far, it's been a short week, but I remember Babano last night liked Washington. Drew Martin was with us tonight. He liked Washington. Brent Beard was with us. He liked Washington. I think Big Man on Campus liked Washington. I don't think has anyone picked Michigan on the show. I don't think anyone has. I don't think any of our guests this week have picked Michigan on the show, which is fine with me. They're going to be wrong, right? They're going to be wrong, although maybe I'm going to be wrong. This will really be the ultimate, like for people like Michigan, diehard Michigan fans, and people who like follow the program forever and stuff. There's been a lot of like close, look at the Fab Five, right? Fab Five lost 2 championships. Look at the modern Michigan basketball. They've been in national championship games. They've been in multiple Final Fours. They've fallen short. Michigan haven't won a championship, a basketball or football championship since 1997. This is SportsRage.